The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you February 20th, 2024. It is the first solo episode I have done in really a month. I think tomorrow will actually be exactly a month since the last solo episode. And it's a lot been going on here on the show. Like I've been doing shows like, obviously with Kyle and now the football's over and all that, but I have not done a solo episode here to check in on a personal level in quite a while. So how are you guys doing, number one? A couple of things I'll touch on in the show, but I would be remiss because the title of this episode, obviously, people want to see the title say, whoa, we talking about? It was a scary situation. We talking about? And I didn't really elaborate much on any of the shows I've done in the last couple of weeks because those were more focused on, football and that's over and all that and other things that matter. But I had a health scare, actually, about 3 weeks ago. It happened I actually had a few health scares actually the last couple of weeks. The first one happened during Conference Championship Sunday. While I was watching the Ravens and Chiefs game, AFC title game. And I was watching the game, first quarter, whatever. And all of a sudden I feel this kind of like this tingling and numbness on the right side of my face. On my face and then onto my fingers. And pretty much the entire day I panicked, but I was like, relax. I'm just stressed out. I'm tired. I don't know what's going on. So it lasted the entire day. It didn't get any worse, but it didn't get any better. At the time, my wife was at work. My kids were with me at the time watching the games or doing their own thing, but I was home with the kids. So I just tried to stay calm the entire time. And my wife came home from work a couple hours later. We came home right on time, right before the start of the second game, the Niners and Lions NFC title game. And things were still the same. I was kind of out of it a little bit. Still watching the game, but was still kind of numb, kind of tingling, the whole nine. And so I ended up putting the kids to sleep. I went to my room, went to bed. Didn't fall asleep. Still watched the games, but I wasn't really focused on the games. I was watching the games, but not really focused like I normally would be if I was feeling better. And so we kept watching the game. At some point, things didn't get any better. Then I had issues walking to the bathroom, like walking around. Like I felt very just out of it. I had to be held up to walk to the bathroom and all that. And I'm taking a shower, see if that made me feel better. And they helped me feel better. And my wife was very, very scared at that point because one of her biggest fears, she always tells me, is that she doesn't want to end up wake up in the morning and see myself dead in the bed watching right next to me. So that's one of the biggest fears, one of the biggest traumatic, things that she thinks about a lot. Because ever since I became, especially last year, since I announced I was type 2 diabetic and high blood pressure and all the whole nine, I've been really trying to focus on my health and trying to really get things back to a normal situation. And it's been up and down for last year. So, and I hate hospitals. I really do hate hospitals. I hate hospitals as a patient. I hate hospitals as a visitor. It doesn't matter. I just hate the environment of hospitals in general. So once I realized I wasn't getting better, plus you have my wife's situation where she's freaking out about how I'm feeling. To alleviate her fears, I decided, you know what, let's go to the hospital. I'm not getting better. Let's see what's going on here. Maybe I'm having a stroke here. I mean, because who knows? But I mean, it didn't get worse, but it didn't get any better. And I didn't want to go to sleep that night and feel like, and then next thing you know, I'm like completely out of it. So I say, you know what? I ended up calling my sister, Aisha, who thankfully answered the phone immediately. and basically explained to her, listen, because my kids were now this is actually around midnight now at this point, and my kids have school next day, and they're sleeping, and I didn't feel comfortable driving myself to the hospital by myself, number one, and I also didn't want to pick up the kids because they have school next day. Plus, I don't want to have them deal with me in the hospital at night. So I actually ended up calling my sister. She came by the house to stay in the house for a couple hours, so the kids could stay asleep and she could stay at the house and fall asleep. Thankfully, thank God she did that. I appreciate that so much. My wife and I went to the hospital about 12:30, 12:45, to check myself into the hospital, and it turned out that I basically I was having a stroke. They did the CT scan, EKG, the whole nine. Everything was cleared. Everything was fine. Basically, the long story short, it was basically my blood pressure went through the roof. Basically, my numbers were like I think 212 or 213 over like 10 something like that. It was sky high. It was like almost like close to stroke level, but I wasn't having a stroke though at the same time. So naturally, they intravenously gave me some blood pressure meds to bring down the numbers, which did happen. I mean, it was still high, but it went down to like one more manageable number. And we stayed at the hospital till about 6 o'clock in the morning. We got released 6 o'clock in the morning. Everything was fine. I was able to go back home. No sleep, of course. My wife, of course, didn't sleep at all either. She was with me the entire time. I mean, thank God she was with me because she kept. It's funny. I was scared because number one, I hate hospitals. And for the record, this is the first time I've gone to a hospital as a patient. I shit you not. The first time I've gone to a hospital as a patient since I was 5 years old. 6 years old. Whatever year was I hurt my finger at school in New York. I think it was 1986. I've gone as a patient to a hospital. So basically 37 years, 38 years, whatever. Crazy, right? Crazy to think about. So, we got released, went home, the whole nine, and I obviously didn't go to work next day. I had no sleep, and I was definitely not in the right frame of mind to even go to work. And my wife also same thing too. She stayed with me the entire time. I strange enough had enough energy to take the kids to school that morning because I did not want them at home with me. I need the entire afternoon to rest, which I did. Took them to school, and we came back home and rested the entire day, the entire Monday until I got them from school. In fact, my wife actually went to get the kids from school at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and let me rest, which is great. Thanks. I mean, once again, she was such a trooper, she's a saint. She's a saint. And I don't know how she puts up with me, honestly. So that's the first scary thing. So as a result of all of that, end up booking a doctor visit with my doctor, my primary, and decided to talk to her in a couple days after, tell her what happened, and I told her the pressure was high, just got the whole nine. So she ended up. So like I said, I have I'm diabetic, I have high blood pressure, and I had cholesterol. So my doctor decided to up my meds because right now I'm on 50 milligrams of losartan. That's a high pressure meds, up to 75. So he started doing 75. Started 2 days later, and for a few days we used that, and it really didn't help much. My pressure kept staying high, the entire time. It kept staying high. So we're like, okay, well, it's not, we don't think it's working. This kind of nine. So then this is about a week later. We call her again. We went back to the doctor again, and she says, okay, fine. Well, I'll up another 25 doses. So we went up to 100 milligrams, and eventually we started getting good numbers on my blood pressure, which is good. And it was good for a couple of days. Like we got some better readings, which was good. So it was working. Last Tuesday, I was recording the last Whole Lot podcast of the year, post Super Bowl, and I felt a little shaky first during the show. We couldn't tell. And I was like, okay, whatever. Went through the show, finished the show. We signed off about 10 o'clock. Ended up falling asleep about 11 o'clock, 11:30, whatever, maybe. And then so here's the thing. I actually, and I told this in the past, probably before in the past. I wear a glucose sensor on my arm, so I can keep track of my blood sugar, and it tells you exactly where you're at blood sugar was in the moment. I fall asleep, and about 12:30 on that Tuesday, last week Tuesday, I get an alert from my phone my blood sugar is low. It was at 59 or 50, 53, what it was in the 50s, which is way too low. So I panicked. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? I wait a couple minutes, and it alerted again. It went lower to 53. Like, holy shit, this is not good. So my first instinct is to go downstairs to my kitchen and just eat something with sugar. So I end up eating bananas. I ate a quarter of a banana, not the whole thing. It's a quarter of a banana. Just kind of get some sugar in me. I don't want to go too crazy. Just put it in my system. Came downstairs, went to sleep. My wife gets home from work around say 2:00 in the morning, an hour later. And she gets home. I fall asleep the whole nine. As I fall asleep, 3:00 in the morning, my sensor goes out again, and my pressure's low once again. It's in the 60s though, but it's still low. And I figure, you know what? Let me just relax, let it even out. End up evening out anyway. And then about 6:45 in the morning, my son comes in the room, and while he comes in the room, the sensor goes up one more time, and basically went low again. So, and that was the pattern for the next couple of days. Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, I went to see a concert in Orlando with my friends all day. We ate like shit coming because what it is. But I kept having issues with my pressure going low. It's like, what the hell is this? So while I'm in Orlando, I called my doctor and said, listen, I got to see you tomorrow. So I came in last Friday and basically said the only thing that's changed really last week is that my meds had changed. So she said, okay, fine. Go back to 75 losartan, okay? And then we're going to add another blood pressure med to offset to make sure we still prioritize keeping those pressure low. Ever since then, it's been fine. Ever since I lowered my blood pressure last Friday, it's been stable and steady at nighttime. My blood sugar has been steady the entire time. And even up to now, it's been steady. So that was my second scare, was my pressure, my blood sugar lowering. Because as much as it's important to keep your sugar, manageable, and obviously having high spikes are not good, having a low blood sugar is actually worse because you can go quickly into a stage of confusion. You can go into a coma, hell, even death if you're not careful. So that was a scary situation, and I had to deal with that for a couple of days. But now we got it managed now for the most part, and so we're back to normal again. So it's been a very, very rough and scary few weeks, man. Honestly, but again, thanks to my family members who have helped out. Again, my sister come by the house to be here with my kids while they're asleep. I mean, I really appreciate that so much. But my wife, especially too, my wife being my rock and being my, my saving grace and being the angel she is, and I love her so much. I don't know what to do without her, honestly. I don't know what to do without her. We've been really, her and I have been really getting back on this grind now, really taking care of our health. She's doing fantastic. I'm work in progress, obviously. But yeah, it's been a really rough few weeks with that. But I'm really thankful for her and her being there. And yeah, so I got to say about that. Podcast schedules. Now, as you guys know, football's over. I've kind of talked about this last couple weeks on the show. One of the things I have with the show, you guys know with this podcast, football's a massive priority in the show. We do obviously 2 football radio shows a week. We do the Student Game Report with Kyle every Tuesday. We also do the EJ Christian with Zach every Wednesday to do our best bets of the week. And then obviously I also appear on Huddle Up Podcast every Tuesday nights on Huddle Up Podcast feed throughout the season. Well, now that football's over, those 3 things go away for a while now. So the podcast schedule starts to open up again now for me in a sense where those things aren't necessarily weekly priorities anymore until next season. And I've been kind of easing into this thing. Now, obviously with my health, some of the health things I've gone through the last couple of weeks has slowed me down a little bit. But I've kind of slowed down now, pace myself a little now because during the fall, like as I said, we're very busy doing podcasts across the board. Not only this show, Huddle Up Podcast, obviously. I also do the wrestling retrospective podcast I've been doing. I've been going at it since August again. We slowed down a little bit last couple of weeks with that though, because of health reasons. Although we have a show planned tomorrow. Look forward to doing that one. But the schedule now opens up a little bit now, and we got a couple good cool things in the down the pike when we're playing for the show in the coming weeks and months, all that. But I'm kind of liking this slower pace right now. I'm kind of liking this easing in here, taking my time, maybe doing 2 shows a week, so that's doing 4 or 5. Not to say that I'm getting lazy and like that, but I kind of like one of that to simmer a little bit. We still got March Madness coming up next month. We still got the NBA playoffs in a couple months. We got a lot of things coming up. We got MLB coming up soon. There's the election years. We got a lot of commentary on politics, of course, too. But I'm kind of liking this pacing right now. I'm just taking my time. I've also been, honestly, one of the reasons why I've also, in addition to taking my time the last couple weeks with the content here, is because I've been taking a lot of content lately. I've been getting back to reading again, reading some of my audiobooks. I actually finally finished a Tim Miller book, Why We Did It. The book that I started like a couple months ago. I finally finished it last week. I'm been watching, we started with my Sopranos binge again for the 3rd time, which I intend to finally finish the show. There's other shows I've been watching as of late too, trying to take in more content on the outside. Actually, to be honest with you, because of my health scare too, also, my dad was saying, maybe we should slow down some of certain things and maybe not watch certain things that trigger you. Much I love politics. Politics is a triggering thing at times. So I kind of stopped watching day-to-day political news. And even for a little while, for a week or two, especially during Super Bowl week, stop watching day-to-day sports stuff to just kind of lay back a little bit, just watch other content. It's kind of fun, actually. I actually miss doing that. So that's been fun. So that's one of the cool things about, like, it's sad that football's done, but at the same time, it's also kind of cool because, like, you get to tackle other things and you can pace yourself. You're not dedicated to having to do this podcast every Tuesday and everything. I love doing the podcast on Tuesdays and stuff, but it's good to have a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather, So that's one of the things where I think I enjoy not having football back for a little while. So, all right. Speaking of content, I haven't talked much wrestling. Well, that's not true, actually. I did have a couple of guests on the show to talk about wrestling, but this is the time of year now where wrestling picks up for me too, because WrestleMania is around the corner. We're literally 6 weeks away from WrestleMania, maybe 7 weeks from WrestleMania, and things are happening, man. Things are happening now. I mean, look, admittedly speaking, I have not been following the content as much as I did 2 years ago, even last year. Like I'm pretty much month to month at this point now. I have not watched AEW in ages, honestly. I don't watch WWE week to week. I do watch it on YouTube with the clips and stuff, but I don't watch their shows. I don't watch SmackDowns or Raws completely anymore. It's too much time, not enough time to watch it. I do watch the premium live events, though, pay-per-views, want to call it, every month, though. I do check in for those. Obviously, Royal Rumble came this past month, and then this week, I think is the Elimination Chamber. But I'm kind of back in a little bit this right now. Obviously, WrestleMania season makes it easier, but I'm kind of back in now because we do have the return of The Rock. And yes, The Rock has come back a few times, of course, in the past. He came back even last year, the whole 9. But I'm more invested now, especially because The Rock now is a bad guy again, a heel. And this is kind of cool because this kind of came naturally. If you guys have been following wrestling, of course, the Bloodline storyline has been going on for almost 4 years now, with Roman Reigns being the head of the table. You have the Cody Rhodes situation where Cody Rhodes actually lost in WrestleMania last year, trying, to finish a story for his father and all that. And then, but of course, for years, it's been mentioned and been rumored that WWE wants to have Roman and The Rock wrestle, whether it's WrestleMania or whatever platform or whatever, to see who is the real head of the table, whole 9. Well, The Rock is back now, and The Rock was back to supposedly challenge Roman Reigns. But seeing that Cody Rhodes won a Royal Rumble, and of course, if you win a Royal Rumble, you get to choose your opponent at WrestleMania. He chose Roman, of course. The crowd, now mind you, this is a scripted thing. This is a scripted situation. So, but the crowd in real time, in real life, ain't feeling the Rock Roman thing. The crowd in real life wants Cody. Now, this is a divide a little bit, but I would dare say it's more 60-40, maybe even 70-30, honestly, that more people want Cody to face Roman and win the title than The Rock. So what's happened now, this has forced WWE writers to try to flip the script a little bit now. And in turn, this has now created a situation now where The Rock has gone from the babyface, feel-good guy, Hollywood star, but everybody loves him now, to now back to the heel, back to the bad guy. We haven't seen a heel Rock in WWE in 20 years. The last time we saw The Rock as a bad guy was in 2003 when he was Hollywood Rock. Before he went away for, was it 8 years? I think he went away for 8 years after 2004. And this, to me, is made for compelling television now, for this product now. Like, it's so compelling now that I'm looking forward to watching the build of WrestleMania than WrestleMania itself. Like, right now, the match still stands. It's going to be Cody against Roman at WrestleMania. But who knows what changes between now and then. So I'm excited about heel Rock. Here's a clip. I'm going to play right now. A clip of The Rock right now currently from, I think it's last week, I believe. I'm going to bring up here real quick on the YouTube side. If you follow me on YouTube, of course, youtube.com/Earnest Christian. You can see the video here. I'm going to play here. This is a little bit of a clip of The Rock heel right now. Some clips from last week's SmackDown.
You broke the all-time record for the largest gathering of trailer park trash The Rock has ever seen. Now, if you didn't like that, you're gonna love this. Finally, your life has meaning. Finally, you and your 50 wives will have a story to tell. And you know what I'm talking about? You'll have a story to tell your 600 inbred grandchildren one day. And that is what it's like to look at greatness in the flesh, because finally, The Rock has come back to Salt Lake City.
That's so great, man. That is so great. That is literally, and I'll tell you right now, I know everybody loves The Rock and all this stuff, and, you know, they have their moments and all that. And to me, my favorite Rock is bad guy Rock. I've always been a fan of corporate Rock from 1998 to 99 when he was feuding with Steve Austin, when he merged with Vince McMahon and all that, and then that whole thing. And then, to me, my favorite Rock, of course, is Hollywood Rock. Granted, was not watching in real time when it happened, because at that point I hadn't gotten out of watching wrestling, you know, at that point for 17 years. But Hollywood Rock's my favorite one. And now we're getting this kind of the same kind of type of Rock back now into the WWE. Now, how long does Rock stay here? I don't know. This could go on for another few months. It could go into the rest of the year. I mean, we could see The Rock turn on Roman at some point. Maybe Roman turns babyface down the road. Who knows? But this is what makes WWE television compelling. Stuff like this. And then it's natural because the crowd wants Cody as the guy, not The Rock, to face Roman. They want Cody to be the guy to finish the story and beat Roman. It's natural. It's creating new, fresh material, new creativity for the writers now. What are they going to do next? How does this build WrestleMania goes? How does WrestleMania go in general? Does this thing have legs beyond, WrestleMania? This whole story? Who knows? But I'm just glad The Rock is back. And not only glad The Rock is back, got tired of the babyface Rock, honestly. The same guy, positive guy. I like The Rock insulting the fans and insulting people. That's where he made his mark, to be honest with you, as a heel. So, yeah, very excited about that. Like I said, I'm now watching. I'm locked in now, especially to with this storyline. All right, what else? Two more things to get out of here. Jon Stewart is back on Daily Show. You guys know Jon Stewart is obviously a comedian. He was the host of Daily Show for a long time. He left in 2015, I think it was, or 16. Thing was right before Trump got elected, and it was sad because Jon Stewart is a voice. I said even back then, and now granted, I wasn't somebody that watched Jon Stewart all the time back then. Like, I watched him periodically. I was a fan, but I was never somebody that watched the Daily Show every single day. Because honestly, when he at a peak of his powers, I was not the biggest TV watcher in the world either. I was always, back then I was in a band and I didn't have time to watch TV. I was either in the studio writing music or was doing other things. But Jon Stewart, I've always said for a long time, was a voice, especially in Trump era, in the Trump era, before he got elected, that was absolutely needed and missed in the this field. Here's a clip from his return, his first episode, because he got a lot of backlash from people on both sides of the aisle about his comments on both the upcoming election between Trump and Biden. Here's a clip from the show.
What the are we doing here, people? These two candidates, they are both similarly challenged. And it is not crazy to think that the oldest people in the history of the country to ever run for president might have some of these challenges. Now, Democrats will say that any criticism like this, especially of Biden, is unfair because you just don't know Biden like they know Biden.
I was in almost every meeting with the president, and the president was in front of and on top of it all.
Did anyone film that? So when it comes to Republicans, they've got a different strategy for their 77-year-old candidate.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is not an old man.
He's an old man. He is objectively an old man. They are the oldest people ever to run for president, breaking by only 4 years the record that they set.
I heard that Democrats were mad at Jon Stewart for his criticism of Biden. This stuff was milquetoast. What are you talking about? And the fact that Jon Stewart is able to call out both sides is what I like to see. Now, does Jon Stewart have a lean? Yeah, he's definitely a lot more liberal. But that doesn't mean that the liberal side or the Democratic side, the left side is safe from criticism from Jon Stewart or any other comedian. That's bullshit. And again, this right here, and I watched the episodes. He's 2 episodes in. He's only on Mondays now. He's only on Mondays on the show. So I watched both episodes today. He did one. First episode was obviously on Biden and Trump and the upcoming election, and the other one today that I saw yesterday rather was on Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin in Russia. Look, he's a voice we need. He's a voice that we all need. We needed his voice in 2016. We needed his voice throughout the Trump era between 2017 to 2020. He's a voice we needed in 2022, 2020. I'm glad we got it now. Better late than never. And it's funny. At first, I was kind of like sad that we're only going to get Jon Stewart for once a week. But honestly, I'm okay with it because I feel like less is more. I feel like his commentary once a week will have more impact because it's once a week. You're going to look forward to that Monday show every week as opposed to him being there every single day. It gets watered down. You're going to have the same old, and then it'll lose. And the commentary will actually lose its impact day to day. As great as he is, this is natural. So at first I was like, once a week, that sucks. But no, I think once a week is actually smart. Same reason how I watch Bill Maher or how I watch John Oliver. Like, I'm glad they're not every day because you kind of want less is more. You know what I'm saying? You get burnt out watching the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I'm okay with him being on once a week, honestly. So one more thing before we get out of here. Speaking of presidents, there was a rankings that happened. I'm going to read this up real quick. I'm going to put it on the screen here. First off, rankings of presidents of all time. The ranking resulted from the 2024 Presidential Greatness Project expert survey, which questioned 154 members of the American Political Science Association who specialize in presidential politics. Between November and December, members were asked to rate every president on a scale of 0 to 100 in terms of their greatness, with the average scores composing the official ranking. Now, I'm assuming they're going these rankings based on challenges they face, things, the economy and all this kind of thing. Number one, no surprise, Abraham Lincoln. Number two, FDR. Obviously, Lincoln, number one, should be surprised because, of course, he navigated the Civil War, the whole nine, got out of slavery. FDR, number two, of course, navigating the Great Depression, got out of the Great Depression, World War II, the whole nine. Joe Biden at 14, actually. That's kind of shocking. Joe Biden at 14. That seems kind of high, right? I don't know. I wish I knew what qualifications were here on this. I'm really curious on that. Donald Trump, by the way, was last of 45 presidents. Last. You see on the screen here, this is the ratings. Yeah, I don't have the entire list of people on the screen because unfortunately I couldn't get the PDF file to fit the entire screen. You can see like on the bottom rating, it says 100 to the right and then low rating and to the left. Obviously Lincoln, FDR, George, I think it's George Washington 3, I want to say that's Teddy Roosevelt 4 with like 79%. TJ, I believe that's Thomas Jefferson. Harry Truman at 6. Barack Obama at 7. Dwight Eisenhower, who I consider a very underrated president, number 8. Lyndon Johnson, number 9. JFK, number 10. This is actually kind of fascinating. JFK behind LBJ. I think LBJ, because he's the one that signed the Civil Rights Bill, gets the love there. James Madison, 11. Bill Clinton at 12. J.A. Who's J.A.? J.A. is who's J.A.? I don't know. I'll think about it later. Joe Biden at 14. Woodrow Wilson, racist at 15. Let me see. Anyone else picking? George Bush number 1 is like 19. I think 16, 17, 18. That's the list right there. You can see on the screen here. If you go to the YouTube page, of course, at youtube.com/Earnest Christian, there's the entire list. But yeah, I want to see exactly what things they considered that made them great presidents. Like, does Trump be last? I don't know. That's all perception. Like, again, all these things go according to what? According to what you believe in is good for the country or not, whatnot. I don't know. A lot of MAGAs are going to see this, going to be very pissed about that. It's like, oh, well, Donald Trump did this, and the economy was great. And again, we have opinions about that and how the economy works, and if he should get full credit for that, whatever. I do agree with the top 2, though. You know, FDR at 2, Abe Lincoln at 1, navigating two of the biggest things in this country's history. You know, Civil War, Great Depression, World War II, the whole 9. That's huge. George Washington, of course, the Revolutionary War, the whole 9. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with the top 3, honestly, but top 2 definitely I agree with that. Definitely the most consequential presidents of all time. Those 2 on top, I totally agree with. So there's that. And I think that's it for me. We'll call it that here. That'll do for this podcast. Dated February 20th, 2024 on X/Twitter at EJ Christian 7. You want to check out all my work, of course. First off, my YouTube page, youtube.com, again, /Earnest Christian. You like wrestling? I have a wrestling podcast called The Wrestling Retrospective, where we talk about old school wrestling. We have roundtables. We have watch-alongs. A little bit of a peek in the curtain. Tomorrow's episode, if we do get done recording it, we're going to be doing a watch-along on the very first Elimination Chamber from 2002 Survivor Series. We're going to have on Big Jim Neese, of course, Big Jim Neese, and Ryan Miller, both from the 3CT podcast, on the show to do that. I also said a few weeks ago that now that football's over, we'll be going back to I'm going to be relaunching the basketball retrospective podcast. Well, I was going to ask you to put an episode out last week, but we're going to wait till like probably next week or week after to start doing episodes on that one. So we have that coming down the pike. Other than that, I have another episode planned this later in the week. You'll see that. Hopefully, hope that goes through. I'm not going to announce who's on there, but we'll see how that comes through. Other than that, guys, thanks for your prayers. Thanks for the support. Continue subscribing. My goal right now, before the end of winter, is to get to 400 subscribers on YouTube. I actually want to get to 500 because if I get to 500 subscribers, I can start making. I can start getting more benefits on there, and I can actually make more money. Make money on YouTube. So please, if you tell a friend, subscribe on YouTube as well too. Otherwise, subscribe to the podcast. Goes all podcast catchers. And we'll talk soon. God bless y'all. Love you. Take care. And
Thank you.